Good evening, everybody. So, yeah, I have some stuff I wanted to talk about, and it's weird, but it's easier for me to talk about this stuff when it's not actually happening than it is to talk about it when it's actually happening. So, I preface this with a couple of things. One, I am very, very well aware psychologically of what's happening to me right now. Two, I can usually get out ahead of it pretty well. It's not usually a really big deal. I just think it's something that we all need to acknowledge happens. And it's just one of those. So, yeah, I guess it is still harder to talk about. Anyway, I have incredibly negative thought trains. It doesn't happen all the time. It's certainly, well, it's way less frequent now than it used to be. In the heat of the moment, they can be really bad. Right now, like, I can psychologically pick them apart. I can tell you exactly what's happening. I think all of us that have been through mental abuse have them. And any other type of abuse, physical abuse certainly too. But, I remember them talking about how, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it when you're, perusing, looking at articles and stuff like that, how they usually say something to the tune of that mental abuse is the hardest part of abuse in general. It's part and parcel, actually, to physical abuse also. It's how it usually starts. I loved my dad a lot. I did. My dad passed away 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago this summer from cancer. It was a tough road. I was not a daddy's girl at all, and it's partially because I had a very negative relationship with my dad. And he's the one who gets stuck a lot, I guess is the best way of putting it. It's weird. It's days like, so today it's not happening, which I actually kind of find weird, because usually when I've got, reviews with work or things going on or getting accolades for anything or whatever, it tends to hit. The triggers are weird. It doesn't have to be negative. It can actually be incredibly positive. Somebody giving me a compliment can trigger me having a negative thought train. It's the dumbest thing ever. I started really sitting down and trying to figure these out a couple of years ago. So it's weird. It's like mine tend to be very, you're ugly is always going to be the top one. It's always going to be the top one. I don't know. There's nothing I can do about that necessarily, nor do I think, it's just one of those things that gets pounded into your head. So there's that, the fact you're stupid, that's bad. That one, if somebody even alludes to thinking that I'm dumb about something, that gets triggered. Worthless comes up quite a bit. And that usually only happens when I'm dealing with the depression, though, which thankfully hasn't been an issue. And then, they tell me that I'm a horrible sister and that I'm a horrible daughter and that I was a horrible wife and that I'm a terrible friend. And in general, it just tends to be if you can imagine sitting in the center of a room with a spotlight on you and everything else is dark, but the whole room is just filled with people telling you, like, every negative thing they can think of about you, that's essentially what it is. It's called a thought train. I remember learning about it in school, actually, which was kind of weird, but, it's our tapes. It's our internal tapes. The things that we're told about ourselves that we assimilate into our personality. And unfortunately for me, my dad was probably one of the most negative people I'd ever met in my life. He did not know how to be a parent. I don't think anybody does. But my dad's view of the world definitely colored things a different way for me. I remember my dad coming up behind me when I was about, 12 or 13 years old, and he told me that he knew he was never going to have to worry about me because I was always going to land on my feet somehow. Always. You know, he never had to worry about anything. Which was funny, because at 12 and 13 years old, I definitely needed somebody worrying about me. I don't know. I don't tend to be one of those people that's all, I blame this on my parents, and I don't. I understand completely where it comes from. My dad was emotionally abusive. My older sister, of course, was incredibly emotionally abusive. Most of my relationships in my life have gone that way. It's most, not all. I caveat that. I try really hard to surround myself with positive people, because I know how this gets. I am a very positive person by nature. I have a lot of optimism. Shannon can tell you that's like one of my most annoying qualities for her. It's just that I think sometimes it gets used back against me a little bit, and not by anybody else. I think it gets used back against me by myself. So essentially what's been going on, or what was going on for the last couple of days, it's not right now, is that it forces me to emotionally withdraw, which I hate. It gives me the point where I assume silence is anger. That's something I think that I've read about that. That's normal for mental abuse. I assume that somebody not speaking with me is because I did something wrong. It got to the point, and the reason a couple of years ago this got to the point where I could start kind of recognizing it and really working with it was, I got to the point where when Alex was first sick, it was first really sick. It breaks my heart talking about this and thinking about it. I asked him to get divorced. Not a whole lot of people know that. And I didn't ask him because I didn't love him and I didn't want to be married anymore. That wasn't it at all. I told him that I was having these thoughts. We'd been together for close to 7 years, and he had no idea that the reason I would get so down on myself was because of this. Because I would never tell him. I didn't understand what was going on very well. I thought I would hurt him by telling him, because it hurts me so bad. But yeah, so we're sitting on the couch, and I told him it would be better for him if we got divorced. And he stopped. He was playing a video game, which was so stupid. Like, I'm such a coward. I didn't want to have his direct attention, but I knew the second I said that I was going to get it. But he set the game controller down, and he just looked at me. And he told my mom that I might as well have grabbed him by the balls and twisted. Because I said, he asked me why. And I said I didn't want him to be miserable being stuck with me for the rest of his life. And I remember sitting there on the couch thinking that this was going to be it, and he was going to verify everything I had been terrified of for the last couple of weeks. And which was dumb, because if I'd thought about it for even a split second, I'd have known I was wrong. But I remember looking over at the look on his face. And it still kills me. It still kills me thinking about it. But that's when I learned. That's when I had to learn to start fact-checking myself, because I had seriously spent an entire, God, it'd been a while. It'd been going on for a while. I think that thought train had stuck probably for over a year. But it'd been happening my whole life. You know, it's not something that just kind of goes away. It does now. But I had just assumed over the course of that year that the stuff that was happening was my fault. You know, it was... He finally looked at me and he told me no. Obviously. And we were not getting divorced. And he sat there with me on the couch for, I think, 3 hours. Making me go over every nuance of every single negative thought. And I'm bawling my eyes out. and I couldn't articulate very well what was going on, because I think in the heat of the moment it's really tough to do that. But that was when he told me, he straight up told me I needed to start coming up to him and asking if he was pissed, because I just assumed that he was. I assume that I am not good enough or enough for anybody. It's not as bad anymore, but I think that's because I finally broke down and told him. And, you know, again, 3 hours of working through, like, literally, I mean, I roll my eyes about it now, but, like, literally every negative thing I have ever thought about myself, he made me lay out on the table. And it helped. I mean, it still helps. I have to fact check myself now, which is, it feels dumb, but that's what works. You know, it's like I have to go, nope, I know that's not right. I know that's not right. I know that's not right. I can sit here and for hours going over it. And I think it's something that we need to acknowledge more when it comes to mental abuse. That it's, you know, it's cliche, but physical scars heal. The mental ones take some time. Admittedly, I've never seen a counselor. I talked to one briefly last year after Alex died, who I wound up firing after 4 sessions because she just, like, no. But when it comes to the stuff that happened to me when I was younger, I tend to kind of just deal with it on my own. Because I'm good at dealing with other people's issues, so I think somewhere in here I just assume that I'm good at dealing with my own. But it's days like today when I remember that, no, this is one of those things I genuinely sometimes need help with. I don't know. I'm just kind of having one of those days, I guess. And like I said, it's just that if I start to withdraw and people notice, which people thankfully in my life, the people around me tend to be like, Sarah, what the fuck's going on? And it doesn't happen very often anymore. It used to happen a lot. But I try really hard to not do it as much anymore. I'll force myself. I'll tell people that I'm having a hard time now, which I didn't always do before. But yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of insight into that. I genuinely get surprised when I'm good with something. Or when someone else has anything good to say about me. It'll catch me off guard. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just something that I need to acknowledge every once in a while, that if somebody notices something is off, that you can just say something to me about it, because I know what's going on. And sometimes it's just easier for me thinking that I'm sparing people going through this shit with me. But I also know that's bullshit. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess the request is just that if it seems like I'm acting odd, that somebody says something, because otherwise, and it's not like I need to put a facade up, it's just that I need to reel it in a little bit. And I work on it really hard anyway when it happens. And like I said, it's not as frequent, anywhere near as frequent anymore. But just bear with me a little bit, I guess, is the only thing I'm asking. And, yeah, it was a good day otherwise. I mean, not otherwise. It was a good day. I mean, like, I had my yearly review, which was the trigger, by the way. And it was actually really positive. Nothing I didn't already know about. And my team is doing incredibly well. So the trigger for me, of course, is that my boss spent a half an hour singing my praises, and I'm sitting here going, dude, you were just completely fucking dead wrong. But then I look at everything. I had to go through and spend like a half an hour looking at all of our data and just going, okay, no, he's not wrong. We're okay. And yeah. So, yeah. If I wind up, for some reason or another, fact-checking every once in a while, and I think I've done that with a couple different people now, where it's like, you know, just if I feel like I'm bothering somebody, I will ask. You know, it's like if I, or whatever. But if every now and again it comes up and like I'm acting odd, just check me. You know, that's probably what's happening. But I will make a conscious effort to reach out more, and lead by example, because I know of several people in my life who need to learn to reach out when they need help. And I know that's like, going back even to, I think, 2nd or 3rd grade, I remember having that on report cards. Sarah needs to learn to ask for help. Well, I'm asking for help. So just bear that in mind. And if anything else seems odd, let me know. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. So I'll talk with you later. Bye.